Welcome everyone to the Road to One, where we get to hear different real estate investors' journeys as they discover real estate to get to their first deal. Today we have my friend Colin Yeap. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Doing well. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. A little bit about myself. I started getting into real estate in of 2023.
Okay.
Prior to that, which I'm still in, is I'm still I work in a pharmaceutical company. So I've been in the pharmaceutical industry for about 20 years, close to 20 years.
For those of you who don't know, Colin is just crushing it with the number of deals. I mean, at Squad Up, you got the Rising Star Award, right? Meaning you just
Yeah, I think it's got a breakthrough member award
yeah, just and you've only been in for a year.
a year, just over a year. Yeah.
Dude, okay, so let's get started. What is it about? What made you decide to get into real estate?
So I think coming out of COVID, so I'm the sole provider in my family. So I have two kids, two little kids. And I was kind of thinking, if something, and my wife is a stay-at-home mom. So I was kind of thinking if something did happen to me and I couldn't go to work or I couldn't work, then we will be in trouble, right? So I
Hmm.
wanted to look at something more passive or something on the side that can actually just continue to bring passive income in case something did happen, then I would know that they would still be okay. And then when I started Googling, if anybody wants to, tries Googling it, you actually find out real estate is the actual trend that continues to go up. Even though there are crashes in the market, the trend
Hmm.
always seems to go up, right? So from a passive standpoint, that's kind of how I kind of, you know, did the whole bigger pockets, videos, books. I read a bunch of books. Now, not coming from real estate, it was tough because I knew nothing about real estate, right?
Hmm.
I knew everything about pharmaceutical, nothing about real estate. So I just read more books. I actually downloaded one of the Excel calculators for underwriting in bigger pockets,
Hmm.
and then I was underwriting deals because I was trying to buy a property back then in October 2022 when I just like started reading about it. I was like, oh, let me go buy a property conventionally. And in order to do that, I was actually learning how to underwrite, learning how to work out the numbers and see how that, not whether it would cash flow, right?
Hmm.
I would go into the forums and ask people how to actually do your numbers. It was tough because nobody would share, in bigger pockets, nobody would really share, you know, a lot of information. And so I kind of had to work it through myself and figure it out. Um, and then I went from there. And then, I couldn't find a property for the life of me. Kept getting bought out by cash investors,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And then I just like, oh, maybe, it's not for me, right? But then I kept pushing and I kept pushing, and then I stumbled upon Pace, and he was talking about creative finance. And so then I started reaching out into his free community, his free Facebook. And I was like, I'm going to hit up everybody on this page, all the leaders in my area.
Hmm.
And, and I was like, okay, I need to change that mindset. I need to adopt to, trying to make this work and not give up. Right. And I did all of Pace's videos, like every single one of it. I did his 24-hour thing, long video that he did, ran it on like 2x or 3x speed.
Hmm. Right. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, then, I met a couple of leaders in Massachusetts. I'm from New Hampshire. And one of the flippers, who was a leader in Massachusetts, was actually doing a flip, maybe like 10 minutes from my workplace in New Hampshire. So then I kind of hit him up and he's like, hey, why don't you come over? I was like, wow, this guy doesn't even know me,
Mhm.
and he's
Yeah.
asking me to come over and watch his flips. And I went over there. I said, hey, I know nothing about real estate. I know nothing about flipping.
Hmm.
Right. And he just kind of walked me through like, this is what I did, how I purchased it. This is how I actually did it. And then at some point, we started meeting every week. Every other
Oh.
week, he would say we'll
Hmm.
go for lunches, and we started bonding, right? Relationship was so important.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that in a minute because one of the key things that really got me my first deal was purely on relationship base.
Hmm.
Now I was still learning. So this guy, shout out to Jonathan Santiago, he walked me through like Here's how much I purchased it for. Here's how much my hard money lender is coming in for. Here's how much my rehab is gonna cost. And here are the things. Here's the timelines. And it was just like, and I saw the project when it was just starting all the way through to like him almost completing the flip, right?
How
And so
valuable was that to see it
it,
from start to finish?
it was incredible because I was like, this is gonna take a lot longer. And he was telling me like, hey, I just did the driveway. He was sending me photos.
Mhm.
And this was not even my deal. I was just tagging along, being a fly
Yeah.
on the wall, right? Asking
Mhm.
questions.
Yeah.
And then we became good friends. And one of and then as we, progressed our friendship, he said, hey, I'm gonna pick up another property. Do you wanna get involved? I was like, absolutely. I don't know anything about flipping, but
Yeah.
maybe I could help fund some of your, maybe help fund one of your deals.
Mhm.
And that's how I got my first deal. He said, okay, here is what I need. This is how much I need. This is for how long, right?
Mhm.
And I ended up, I have some funds um, in my property, in my HELOC. I took a
Yeah.
HELOC, home equity line of credit. If folks don't know, it's basically equity from your house. I did a draw from the HELOC and I loaned it out to Jonathan on that first deal.
How scary was that?
I was sweating. I was sweating not because I didn't trust Jonathan. I was
Mhm.
sweating because it was a big amount. It was nerves. It was my
Mhm.
first deal.
Mhm.
I didn't know anything about real estate. I was hoping that I was doing it right. But
Yeah.
the good thing was, no, now Jonathan kind of said, okay, this is how you're going to be secured,
Mhm.
right? He said, there's going to be a promissory note. There's going to be a deed of trust. So you're going to be, tied into one of my properties. And then I said, well, what do I not need? What do I need to know? What are the risks, right?
Yeah.
So he walked me through like, hey, if I don't perform and I don't do this, you can take this property of mine. And what he actually did was pretty smart. He tied
Mhm.
me onto a property that had 900, it was worth 900,000.
Mhm.
I lent out 100,000 and he had a 300,000 in debt. So he had a 600,000 equity spread. So he said,
Yeah.
if I don't perform, you can take my property and, foreclose on my property if you wanted. So I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna perform, right? So,
Right.
and he ended up, you know, doing it, selling his property actually, and I made, my money back plus interest over
Yeah.
the course of 6 months.
So you came in as a lender.
I came in as a lender, private money lending. I came in as a lender, my first deal. He actually went through the documents with me and the attorney. We actually went through a closing attorney in Massachusetts. It's the attorney state.
Mhm.
So the attorney actually went through the documents and kind of walked me through that. And he walked me through that. And it was really smooth. It was really easy. I felt comfortable.
Mhm.
And, um, and more importantly, I think knowing that there was someone there, physically there and I could go see a property, I could go see him. I know,
Yeah.
he's around the area, and to build a relationship with someone that you trust, right?
Yeah.
So that was incredible. I was excited, right? But also we ended up doing with the deal. We ended up structuring it in a way that I would get some payments every month, some monthly payments, because I said, hey, if I'm gonna be taking money from my property
Mhm.
to use as a loan, I have a little bit of holding costs from the HELOC rates.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
he was like, yeah, I'll cover that.
Oh,
And
very
so
nice. Yeah.
I wasn't coming out of pocket every month. We structured in a way so that he would win by getting
Mhm.
the funds to get into a new deal. I would win from the interest that I'm getting, and I would also win for structuring a deal so that I don't. He would be covering my holding cost. So it was kind of like a win-win-win situation.
Yeah, that is, I mean, I wouldn't say that you got lucky, but the fact that you had someone to walk you through how to do it the right way and made sure that you were taken care of, I think is incredible because, you hear a lot of people whose stories are, it's not that way. Like they get taken advantage of, but you had some concerns, you voiced them, and he made sure that you were, again, that all of those issues were done and you didn't have to worry about the holding costs while the loan was out. So, and he walked you through the paperwork properly. Super important too, right?
Super, super important
Yeah.
because if you're new to the industry like I was,
Mhm.
it's nerve-wracking because it's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
That you may not understand, a lot of terminology that you may not understand. So I was asking questions and questions and questions, right?
Hmm.
Um, and so it's definitely important to work with somebody on your first deal, in my opinion,
Yeah.
so that you can at least see the paperwork. You can at least know how you're going to be secured. You at least know that, some type of due diligence is done on the borrower.
Hmm. What
I
would you?
didn't, I didn't,
Mhm.
I didn't do a lot of the due diligence on my side because it was more relationship based on that side,
Yeah.
right?
But what were some of the things that I think stood out to you when it came to feeling comfortable with your borrower?
Communication.
Yeah.
My number one thing that really made me confident is communication. He was communicating to me about progress of how things are going. He would send me pictures. He would keep in contact with me. He
Hmm.
would tell me, "Hey, I just set you up for ACH payments."
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
then I would get notifications that his payments went through, and he would give me a heads up. Hey, I just sent you a payment, this month's payment. I said, and just the constant communication, it was great. It gave me confidence that, things are going well. It gave me confidence that he was a good borrower. He
Hmm.
is a good borrower, right? And that, I didn't have to worry about it. Now, it was, it was really nerve-wracking, um, on for the first month because I was waiting for my first payment, right?
Yeah.
Everybody will probably feel the same way if,
Hmm.
you're lending for the first time,
Yeah.
um, or doing that deal for the first time, and you're at that point where, hey, my proof of concept is coming.
Hmm.
Is it really working? Is it going to work?
Right.
Right. And when the money hit my account, I was like, yes. And my wife was like, it actually works. I'm like, yes, this is cool, right?
Yeah.
So that was pretty reassuring that I'm doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, now there's no better proof than actually getting money into your account.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So as you were going through and running your numbers on the houses, what year was that?
What year was the house built in?
Oh no, the when you were exploring bigger pockets and your goal was to
Oh,
buy a
yeah.
property.
That was October 2022.
Okay. That's when rates had spiked, right?
Yes, rates has
Or they were coming
yeah.
up.
Yeah, rates was
Yeah.
spiked, has started spiking,
Hmm.
right? Property prices were still high,
Hmm.
right? And you know, everybody was buying still,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But a lot of them were cash buyers.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah, people that were trying to offset taxes, right? They didn't care about the cash
exactly.
flow so much.
Exactly. But also I learned that a lot of the cash buyers are actually using private hard money lenders or private money lenders
Right.
getting flips. Where someone like me at that time was like, hey, I need to, use a bank to go get a loan. Traditionally, I gotta get pre-qualified. It's gonna take all of that. So
Yeah.
a seller would naturally go with a cash buyer because it's faster.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So one thing that, or a couple things that I like that you mentioned were one, you went through and you learned how to evaluate a property, you practiced, and you went to go look for one. You
Hmm.
couldn't find one. And instead of giving up, you went and you searched for the next thing. And I, I mean, one of the things I had trouble with in the beginning, but you did was just reaching out to people and just asking
Mm.
questions. Like how, I mean, there's got to be the biggest reason why you got your first deal, right?
Oh yes, 100%. So networking was the number one thing, right? Reaching
Yeah.
out, no, I mean, taking action was the first one, right?
Yeah.
To actually get uncomfortable because I've never reached out to anybody on Facebook and say, hey, can I go see what you're doing, right? And they're like, who
Right.
the hell are you?
Yeah.
Right?
Hmm.
Um, but it was me like, okay, I just gotta reach out to somebody and hopefully make some friends, right? That was so
Yeah.
weird because while I'm in pharmaceutical, I don't have a lot of friends outside my work
Hmm.
life, right? And I come
Yeah.
home, I got my kids, my wife, so everything's all in a small circle.
Yeah.
When I started reaching out to people in the community, I was actually like New England, New England sub two, right? New
Hmm.
England leaders.
Yeah.
And then I found a list somewhere that was hidden in one of the comments.
Hmm.
I reached out to every single leader in on that list. And then I looked at who their friends were connected with. And then I
Hmm.
reached out to their friends. And then I Facebook creeped them and reached out to their friends. So then I said, okay, I need to figure out like how do I meet people? How many people can I meet a day?
Hmm.
Right. So I set a goal for myself, 5 people a day, every single day. I would
Yeah.
reach out to 5 people. Whether they get back to me or not, that was a
Hmm.
different story, right?
Right.
Initially, I was like, just reach out, reach out, reach out, reach out, reach out. And then at that point, someone says, why don't you get a Calendly so that someone can actually schedule something with you? And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a great idea. Right.
Yeah.
And then when I set that up and I started reaching out to people, they're like, hey, yeah, get on my calendar, or do you have a calendar? I'm like, yeah, come on. And then over the course of maybe 3 to 4 weeks, that's where I started seeing people coming into my calendar.
Hmm.
And I was building this like rapport with people that I didn't know, right?
Yeah.
And just like talking to people and then learning so much from different people and their experiences, their journeys, how they overcome obstacles, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, hey, um, I'm forgetting people's names and I'm forgetting people's faces. I'm like, I can't keep up with this. So I actually put in and create a Google Sheet, an Excel file, and just
Mm.
start putting people's names, where they're from, the numbers,
Yeah.
the emails, right? And just
Hmm.
started, putting them and making sure I can, contact them if I ever needed something or if they needed something.
Yeah. That is very cool. So, I mean, that's something super powerful, right? Just meeting people. Because sometimes, like in the beginning, you don't really know what is it you're looking for. But then as you start to meet more people, it just, having these conversations just alone, I feel like kind of clears things up. It gives you more clarity.
Mhm. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I, through that, I met my next partner who
Mhm.
actually did the second and third deal. And, just by reaching out to people.
Yeah.
And, it was just, and then since then, we create a lot of checklists, we learn a lot and build the systems, right?
Yeah.
And just kept going from there.
Yeah. So, what was your schedule like when you first got started? Because I always hear people like say, I don't have time, I got a W-2, but just tell people what was your schedule like in the very beginning?
My schedule from the very beginning it's better than what it is now.
Oh, is it really?
Oh yeah. Because if you think about it, when I first started, I still have my W-2 till today. Right
Hmm.
now is my lunchtime, but I still have my W-2 till today,
Hmm.
where I'm in a pharmaceutical. I got a full-time W-2 job, right? I got breaks in between my lunch breaks, right? And I'm
Hmm.
driving to work. I drive an hour and drive home an hour,
Hmm.
right? So what I do is I utilize that time by meeting someone in the morning
Hmm.
on my way to work, and then I take two more calls during my lunch. I skip lunch,
Hmm.
right? And then in the evenings, I would do one call on my way back from work. And sometimes, okay, and occasionally I'll do one more call, my fifth call with people on the West Coast when put my kids to bed.
Hmm.
Get down and I start doing real estate stuff.
Yeah.
And then I meet someone on the West Coast. So every day I was meeting about 4 to 5 people a day. And it was
Yeah.
insane because I would work the whole day. I would meet people the whole day, and then I would underwrite during the night. But I got
Hmm.
my kids and my family time between, getting home from work, putting
Hmm.
the kids to bed,
Yeah.
right? And then I'm back on until like midnight, and
Yeah.
then I'm up again at 5:30, right? So I mean, no time, absolutely no time. Lots of sacrifices, lots
Mm.
of getting uncomfortable, but if you know where you want to go and you know how you're going to get there,
Mm.
then you have to make those sacrifices. You have to take action, right? And you have to be okay with it, but let everybody else know, hey, the next year is going to be a tough, tough year,
Yeah.
right? But I'm going to keep pushing. This is where I want to be. Hang tight for now,
Yeah.
and just don't give up. Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
but also learn to pivot, right?
Hmm.
Your avatar, like I'm a lender. I started off as a lender,
Mm.
right? And I morphed into a connector because I ran out of money. As a
Yeah.
lender, you can only lend so much, no matter how much money you have, whether you have 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, $1 million and $2 million, $5 million, whatever it is, right?
Hmm.
At some point, you're going to run out of money if you keep lending.
Yeah.
So I learned how to pivot from being a lender to a connector. when now I realize, hey, I got no money. How do I keep going?
Hmm.
Right.
Right.
And that's where I was like, oh, I've got this list over here with everybody's names on that I've been meeting 5 days, 5 people every single day.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, hey, are you still a lender? I've got a deal. And I say, well, I can't lend anymore because I'm tapped out. But you know what? I got a list of people that may,
Yeah.
right? So then I marry them together.
So two things just in our discussion that you brought up, I guess one thing that you brought up twice actually. You hit a roadblock and then you found a way around it. And then same thing here with being a lender. You hit a roadblock and you didn't just say, "Oh, I'm tapped out, I'm done." You found a way to continue to work and make it happen. So um, amazing stuff.
Yeah, time is always going to be an issue. You're
Hmm.
busy is going to be always an issue, right? It's how you navigate around it, how you be creative around it. What are you willing to sacrifice? Because there are some things that you can sacrifice during the day. Maybe wake up earlier,
Hmm.
right? Get up
Yeah.
earlier,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe sacrifice some sleep a little bit. I don't know. I sacrifice my sleep
Yeah. For now though, right?
for now until you get to where you want to be, right?
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
things are starting to get better as you progress and you create systems, you create efficiencies.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So I know we have time's running out, but I want to get a couple more questions in. So
Yeah.
first, knowing what you know now, what's some advice that you would give yourself when you first got started?
Knowing what I know now, I would say that I would have probably learned to do more underwriting,
Hmm.
to understand the process even better, right? Because understanding the numbers is key to lending. I'm a lender, so I can only speak to lending. But
Hmm.
if you're lending, then you want to understand, the market. You want to understand how things are going in that market, right? Are
Right.
they selling it in 5 days? Are they selling it in 45 days?
Hmm.
Right. And just learning the intricate details of how do you identify what a safe deal versus not a safe deal is, right?
Hmm.
And that's what I would, go back to my old self. Say you need to learn more underwriting. You need to, get more educated before you start lending safely, right? Um,
Hmm.
and the second thing I would say is partner up with somebody. Like
Yeah.
I did, it's not that I wouldn't do anything differently, but definitely keep networking and partnering up with somebody that knows what they're doing.
Yeah. The power of partnerships for sure.
Mm. Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest mindset hurdle that you had to jump over to get to your first deal?
I think my biggest mindset was that I felt like I didn't know what I was doing,
Hmm.
right? And I was like getting uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It was that fear of what are they going to think about me? What are people going to say,
Hmm.
right? Or I don't want to lose money, right?
Right. Yeah.
Or people spend all their lives, working to a certain amount, and now they're gonna trust, gonna lend their money out, and
Hmm.
you want to do it safely, right? So that was one of the biggest hurdles is getting past that. Hey, am I gonna take action? Am I gonna continue to do what I'm doing now and be okay with it? Or am I gonna make a change? Am I going to be unstoppable? Am I going to be that 1%?
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have that poster up when I started, and it reminds me every day. Um, I turn my lights on every day.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, I turn my lights off.
Yeah.
My wife comes in and says, "Hey, it's like sunny out. Why you?" It reminds me every day to be the 1%.
Yeah. Well, you absolutely are for sure in the top 1%.
That's how motivated people are, right?
Mm.
How solved do you want the problem solved in your life?
Right.
How determined are you?
Yeah. What are you willing to do to fix whatever it is you're not happy about?
Um, um, Whatever that I'm not happy about, I'm okay with.
Mm.
It's a ever learning curve, right?
Yeah.
You're always gonna educate yourself. Don't stop learning
Mm.
because there's never a point of time where you're not learning. So even if I'm not happy with something, I figure out what I need to do to actually get past that roadblock.
Yeah.
Figure out how to make it efficient. I figure out how to get past it because every problem has a solution. Is how you actually get to that solution.
Yeah. Just like figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out.
Yeah. Well, Colin,
Show up every day and get it done.
yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Um, well, I appreciate it. I want to respect your time and make sure you have enough to get to your next meeting. So, how can people reach out to you? How can people work with you?
So people can reach out to me on Instagram at Colin Yeap. I'm on Facebook, Colin Yeap, my first and last name. And on you, I'm starting a YouTube channel.
Mhm.
So at Colin Yeap is my YouTube channel as well. ColinYeap.
Cool. Well, it was so great catching up with you. You're just crushing it and appreciate you spending your time with me today.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks for having me, and it was good seeing you again.
Yeah, man. Take care.
Take care.